Interesting. So one of our teams at the hackathon, the Bit Angels is the primary sponsor of the hackathon at the event today. We put up about $1 million in prizes for the top teams that participate. And one of the teams is doing just that. It's called the Storage Project, and they're rewarding people with a token for adding extra storage space to the network. That's a really exciting project. And so what I'm theorizing here is that we're going to see that model get used more and more. So it's not just currency, it's not just payments, it's not just storage. You can look at the technology stack of the internet, and you can apply this model fairly generally to projects that have a strong network effect. So let me give you another example I want to talk about. Quick show of hands, who's familiar with mesh networks for internet access? About half the folks? Okay, good. So for those not familiar, mesh network is basically a way for me to share the internet from my device to your device. So I can share it from my phone to your phone, share it from my router to your phone. Why hasn't this technology caught on? It's really interesting. The technology all works, but there's no incentive for me to share my internet with Nikos. So people don't do it. There are great projects like Open Garden, for example, that have almost 1 million users. But most of those users are sharing the internet with their own devices at their own home. There's not yet an incentive that says, I'm going to go set up a router and get paid to do that by sharing the internet. But that's what we're about to see. We're partnering with Open Garden, the Bit Angels Fund, to issue a token and reward people for adding bandwidth to the network. So the reason that's really exciting is imagine what's happened already with Bitcoin. You had hobbyists that started just with CPUs on their own personal computers, and they began adding computational power to the Bitcoin network. And then everybody raided Best Buy, bought all the GPUs from the gamers, and used those more powerful hardware to mine Bitcoin. And then the professionals came along and said, we can spend tens of millions of dollars and build application-specific integrated circuits, meaning chips that do nothing but mine Bitcoin. And each time we saw this generational change, you had a 50x increase in the amount of computational power being added to the network from CPUs to GPUs to ASICs. Now, here's the amazing thing. I don't think Bitcoin is the only time we can do that. So go back to our mesh network example. I think it'll start with hobbyists, just like it did with Bitcoin. Guys will set up routers in busy places, and it'll share traffic, and people will be rewarded, let's call it mesh coin. And they'll earn these mesh coins by sharing the internet. People have to buy these coins in order to access the internet. And of course, this will all be done behind the scenes. Users won't have to worry about all that or even understand all that. This will happen in the back end. They'll just know that if they want access, they subscribe to this little service, and when they're around these little hotspots, they can access the internet for really, really cheap. So that's really exciting. But what's more exciting is I think we can go through the same evolution we saw with mining with something like mesh networks. So it'll start with people setting up personal routers. Then you'll have people going around setting up trucks and mobile spots and small towers until, I think 3 or 4 years from now, we'll get to a point where professional companies are spending tens of millions of dollars to do stuff that is entirely focused on sharing the internet. That's really the power I want to unlock.